Thank you for potentially saving the life of myself and my children. Because you chose to speak out, someone became concerned about my situation. Had you not agreed to speak at that conference, her suspicions would not have been raised, and my situation may have been an entirely different one. The whole conference had a huge impact on me, and it is something that has not left me. I still feel so numb to think that, if things had been different, my children could have been delivering a very similar speech in years to come. Stories like these are not our reward for speaking up. They demonstrate that we have a responsibility to tell our story. Therefore, what started as an intimate discussion between the two of us has grown into a wider public dialogue. We recognized that we needed to highlight how belief systems are responsible for gender violence, not emotion. Men, not women. It is society's collective responsibility to actively challenge these damaging beliefs every single day and in every encounter. As we have learned, there is no clearer revelation of societal sexism than the gendered nature of domestic abuse and the conflicting way in which it is then reported. We decided to write about our lives to allow others to see behind the veil of abuse and draw parallels to their own relationships. On a macro scale, this book addresses the core moral issues which perpetuate abuse in our society by exploring the damaging societal beliefs and stereotypes that we encountered. On a micro scale, we do our best to highlight the daily structural disadvantages that abused women suffer through the eyes of two young men who lived under a brutal patriarch. Writing was beneficial for both of us, as it helped us regain control of the narrative of our lives, tearing ownership away from the murder note our father had left behind. Our father had spent his life contorting our perception of reality. Our freedom has come from taking control of our perspective. Writing installed us as the creators of our lives, a position we had never before occupied. Finding the words for our experiences helped us to unwind everything deep inside. Now, we can separate the good from the bad, and the joy from the pain, and begin to rebuild ourselves. Before beginning our story, we believe it is key to paint an accurate picture using facts of domestic abuse. Firstly, abusers are far too prevalent to be the anomalous monsters they are often represented as, given that 1 in 4 women will suffer domestic abuse in their lifetime in the UK. The sheer number of domestic abuse victims suggests that domestic abuse is not merely the result of intimate partners who cannot control their anger. In fact, overall, men who murdered their female partners were more likely than men who murdered men to get on in prison and to be defined as model prisoners. These men have no problems following rules or restraining their instincts in male-dominated environments. These men defer to hierarchy and power structures. In fact, they worship power, as we shall see. However, they can be brutal towards those who they consider to be beneath them. In particular, these men specialized in violence against women. In a study on those convicted of femicide, of those men who had previous histories of physical violence, the usual victim was a woman. The inevitable conclusion is that it is men's orientations to and assumptions about the appropriate behavior of women, their sense of entitlement over women, and the need to uphold their own moral universe that led to the murder of the vast majority of woman partners. The particular circumstances of male violence show this to be the case, when 90% of non-domestic homicides are male victims, but 70% of domestic homicides are female victims. Men choose to murder other men in public, often strangers, but women in private. They're women. Given the prevalence of abuse, we must conclude that abusers are common products of masculine culture, not anomalies within it. These men strongly believe in gender stereotypes and hold their partners rigidly accountable to these ideals. Abusive husbands don't necessarily have bad views towards women, just their own. They worship the idea of a submissive wife, and they punish their real wife who does not meet their expectations. Compared to non-abusive men, Abusers were
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.